Right then guys, so today is Wednesday the 2nd of August 2023, and as promised I am going to start this now. I haven't quite finished the Berlin Camo Chieftain. I'm not putting the Scammer back on the bench right now because I want to get on with this, and as soon as we've done this we're going to get into the A20, or maybe even in parallel with it. But I'm going to have a lot of projects on the go at once, but I really want to get this one going because I know that a lot of people are really desperate to see it, and if I do go to any shows in the near future I can take it with me part built and people can see it. So I'm going to get the box open, and as you know from, the other thing is I've got a brand new cutting mat here. When I did the review, a few people complained about the grid in the background, and it's understandable, it often does get complaints. And normally when I do reviews I put a towel down and I completely forgot, so sorry about that. Just so excited to get the kit. I mean, literally it was posted, I ran up the stairs and opened the box and that was done. So that was it. In fact, Airfix have sent me another box of goodies and I haven't even opened it yet, it's still on the landing. So we have the box here. What we're going to do, we're going to use this for building, and if I'm doing anything like using super glue, filling, painting, whatever, we'll get our dirty old normal cutting mat out. But I think this one deserves a nice clean cutting mat, doesn't it? So what we're going to do first of all, as you all know, what I normally do first is plan the build. Now I've already decided on version C, so we're going to be doing this one. I found some pictures online of the real things and had a look, and they do get quite dirtied up, so we can do a bit of weathering and a bit of chipping on it, or we could just leave it museum fresh, we shall see. But I think I might do a little bit of weathering on it so it looks a bit used, because they do get very black down here, which should be nice to do. We can do that with some pigments and brush it in into some matte paint. They don't look particularly chipped or anything, but they do look a bit used, so we can do some streaking and stuff like that. So we'll see how it all comes out. So as I just said, what I generally do when I start a kit is plan the build, and I look through the instructions for things that can go together in halves. Like for instance, if I was doing this version, then I would be gluing that together so that when I come to need it, use it, it's glued together. There's nothing really here that's in halves. What I'm looking for is stuff like tanks, you know, boxes that we can assemble. There's nothing much that I can hear. The exhaust, you see, we could glue these together and then just put them to one side, and when we come to need them, rather than gluing them together and waiting for everything to dry, we can just get on and glue them, just use them because they're already glued. So we can the glue will be set, everything will be ready to go. So that's one thing we can do. When I did my review I talked about that door, and there it is, there's that door in the folded position. So if you're going to do your door closed, you install it inside here now, you don't actually do it later on. So we can get on and assemble those exhausts, and I'm sure there's another few bits and pieces we could put the wheels together if we needed to, but basically I will do that and just look through and build stuff up. But the first thing I want to do, because the first thing I've noticed, what Airfix have done here is they've given themselves the ability to provide us with a range of different helicopters and only use one mould, which is sensible, economical. If they had to do it all separate, it would put the price up massively, I should imagine. So what they've done is given us panels here to go into fill in where there are no windows. Now on another version there'll probably be that window there filled in and these two will be open, or that one filled in and these two open. So what we're going to do is get these panels in. So we're going to get them off the sprue, get them in, make sure we fit them all correctly and have them dead flush, and then we're going to fill them and sand them so they completely disappear, because I don't want my model to have like a door like that sticking out. You know, you can see we've got a frame around it. I'm sure we can, here we go. I don't want to see that frame like we've got there. Here, I don't want to see that. So basically it's very bright here, isn't it? Sorry about that. So yeah, the thing is, the instructions are so big and they're so bright, it's sort of whiting out the camera. So what we're going to do first of all is get those parts off the sprue, get those done, sanded and fitted and everything, and I think then we'll go and wash everything, because there's no point in washing it and then handling it all for filling and sanding and everything. But I do like to wash the sprues. Airfix recommend it, and I think I probably will go and do it. So first things first, I'm going to get those parts off the sprue and then I'll come back. Okay, so I found these parts. As per usual guys, I'm going to do this video sort of mindful that there are lesser experienced modelers watching that might want to pick up some hints and tips. So that's my usual thing. So I'll do simple things like this that the more experienced modeler will already know. So you can see these parts here, they're individually numbered 31, 28 and 29. And they are all different shapes. So what we're going to do, that one there is 29. Okay, that one's 28. So we just put the numbers on the back of them, and that one is 31. So now we've got the numbers on them, so now we can get them off the sprue without worrying about mixing them up. So here we go, first cut. There we go. That's a nice sound, isn't it? The plastic's nice to work with. So there we go, and we'll get these fuselage halves off the sprue as well. Notice I'm cutting away from the model, because otherwise you always run the chance of pulling chunks of the model out. There's some pretty big sprue gates here, but that's a pretty big fuselage, isn't it? So there's that one, and then this one can come off as well. Leaving these bits on here so that holding the part so it doesn't sort of snap off on the last one. There we go. So that's that. So we'll get these all cleaned up. I mean, I think you've probably seen my videos all about cleaning parts and stuff like that. What's also very nice, it's only that one I was going to say, it's very nice, but it's only that one there, sprue gate, and that one there. The sprue gate is actually on the surface. I love it when they do that. So what I do then is I just come along and remove the sprue gate like that, leave a little bit on the surface just to be sanded off. And these here, just come along with your nippers quite close, don't go right up to the surface. You need to be careful. You see these bits here, you think they're sprue gates and they're not. There's one there. There's one there. Oh, look at that, we've got internal cockpit detail there. We've got rivets and a handle and everything in there, or whatever it is. Very nice. It's a little door latch by the look of it. I don't think they have a door on a Sea King, do they? So as you can see here, just come in nice and close. We've got a spine that goes over that part, so that part there isn't going to be showing on the finished model, so we don't need to worry about it too much. And then just here, that one that's on the surface, we'll cut away like that. So there we are. We'll have to be careful when we're sanding because we've got all sorts of little bits and pieces sticking out. I'll do the same on this one, same on these, get them all cleaned up, and then I'll come back and we'll look at fitting those doors in. And so we've got these parts all cleaned up. Fuselage halves go together really nicely. An unusual sort of feature here, rather than having pins, they've got this sort of tab on one side, as you can see, a tab here, and then there's these two slots in this side, so all sorts of just slots together. And it's a nice way of doing things, because I think the reason they've done that is you don't have a great big lump in the roof, but also you often get sink marks where they have the, you know, where they have the raised area here with the hole in it. Because it's such a mass of plastic, you generally get a sink mark there. So I think they've done that to avoid the sink marks as well. But it sort of locks it all together, and the fuselage just sits there and stays together. You know, I've just been doing this and I've been thinking, I think we should get a petition going to send to Airfix. Make this in 35th scale. They've got the CAD, they could easily do it. Up to 35th scale, it would sell by the million. It would sell like hotcakes worldwide, I think. 35th scale, one of these. Yes. Having a look in here, we've got that window there and that window there. So this one is 29. It's obvious which is which. Like this one here is 29. This is 29. You can't physically fit it wrong, so you don't really need to write the numbers on the back, because they won't actually, you know, that one won't go in there. It just falls straight through. So this one is clearly for here. Now if you're wondering about the direction it goes in, which way up, if you look at the rows of rivets in there, they should line up, and you can see that way up it doesn't line up. If I go that way up, it does. Okay, those rivet lines all line up. I bet you can see that there, yeah. They all line up, so that's cool. So that one's going to fit okay. This one is 29, this one's going to go back here. Again, if you try and put it the wrong way up, it won't go in. So that's all good. So that one's going to go in there. And as you can see, the rivet lines all line up. We've got a step down here. So these panels are sort of overlapping. So you've got an overlap there, and then you've got an overlap here, and then there's an overlap back here. So we need to make sure when we put this one in, it's flush around there and not flush with that side. So that's going to add to the difficulties with sanding it as well. What I'm after is to get these perfectly to disappear, so they're not there. And I'm going to show you how we do it. And then this one here, 28, is going to go in this side. Again, it won't go in the wrong way round. Put it the right way round, it puts, he says. Now the trouble is with this one, as you can see, this one is sub-flush. You can see that in there, it's sub-flush. So if you just glue it in that, you're going to end up with that horrible great step. So grab a piece of blue tack, make it into like the size of a 50p coin, and then I'm going to push this onto the back here. Okay, make sure we push it all the way around so it's nice and solid, and then we can push the middle up, and you should see the door pop out. And now what you can do is just gently push the door back in, or get something with a flat edge, and just get the door to go back flush or just proud or whatever. What you don't want is it sunken down, and you don't want to have to fill it. When you sand it, it doesn't matter if you sand the surface a bit. What you don't want is it too low. You want it, if anything, you want it high. So there we go. So there we are. You can see that is now just slightly raised all the way around. And then what we can do is come along with our, I'll use a drop of quick setting just to lock it in. It's going to capillary onto that blue tack, but that doesn't matter. And it's very, very difficult to find where we can do this. I'm just going to put a drop in there, and that should capillary around. And I'm going to put a drop up in that corner, I'm trying to put the glue where we're not going to damage any rivets. That's gone round, I saw that go round, and that's going to go in the top there. And then I'll put another drop in there. Okay, and then we'll just make sure we are either flush or proud. We do not want to be sub-flush. Just going to pull that corner out a touch. Okay, and let that dry. So we'll leave that to let that dry for a while. And now this one, that one's going in there, and again that one is slightly sub-flush as well. Will it go in the wrong way around? No, it won't. So we'll do the same again with this one. We get a drop of blue tack on the back, and then let that dry. We'll do the same with that one there. It's a bit of a shame here. We've got all this detail around this one. We're going to have to be very careful. Sadly, you can see all that raised detail there. Have to be very careful sanding not to destroy all that. But we can do that with masking tape and stuff. The other thing I'm going to do is check my references, because it could be that because there's no window there, this version didn't have that. I don't know. We will see. I'll check. Like, there's lots and lots of pictures of these online. Very close-up ones as well, which is really handy. So I'll get the rest of these glued in, and then I'll come back and show you how they look. And so these are glued in, as you can see, and you can see where I've touched them. And what I've done is got them, I think I've got them just proud. Okay, the blue tack's still there. So what I'm going to do now is carefully remove the blue tack. There we go. I want to be feeling from the outside and make sure it hasn't pulled it in. And I hope you understand what I'm doing. The reason I want it to be either dead flush or slightly proud is that when I sand it, I sand that panel down. I don't want to be sanding the fuselage down to meet the panel, because I'll end up with all sorts of issues then. And also in here, you can see where this panel's, this overlap, and I've got that exactly the same. And what I've done is come along with a rule and just basically pushed it down so it's flush there, so we get like an equal step. And then Same here. Push that in. Just remove that blue tack from there carefully. That's where the glue is actually gone onto the blue tack. That's okay, it doesn't matter. So just make sure that's still slightly proud or whatever. It's going to be very difficult. I have looked at my references, and those three lugs there are to be there, and this frame, so we have to be really careful when we start sanding around that, when we sand down the what we fill the gaps with. And then this one here we're going to peel off slowly. That one didn't have any reaction with the glue. So there we are. So what I'm going to do now, I've got them in position. They're nicely in position, everything's good. Just what you need to do is come on with an edge, and as long as you can feel an edge going that way, you don't want to feel an edge going that way, you want to feel an edge so it's slightly raised. And this is going to be dead smooth. This is the easiest one to sand because that's just going to be flat. This one here, we've got a panel lap to deal with, and this one here is going to be a nightmare. I'll show you how I do it, and then you can do the same if you want to. So what I'm going to do now, I could use super glue around the back of here, but I don't want to because super glue can be quite brittle and it'll crack. So what I'm going to do is come in with some Tamiya extra thin and run it all the way around from the inside, and then we'll get a nice weld action going on in there. I'm not going to touch the doors at all. Do the same here. Just like so, and then the same here. There's bits of blue tack stuck in there with the glue. I'm not really worried about that. That'll be fine. Because we're going to fill the outside, when we do the outside, the little seam you can see around there, we're going to fill that with super glue. Black CA glue, so we can see it, and also it won't shrink. If we use Mr. Surfacer or something, if we give it a good nice coat of primer, you may start to see sink lines. And we're also going to have to do some re-riveting, I think, because you look on this one here, you look on the bottom edge, that is right on the rivet line. That top one there is very close, and this one here is right on the rivet line on the bottom as well. So there we go. So I don't want my model to look like that. I don't want to see that panel there. I want to completely get rid of it. So that's what we're going to try and do, and it's going to be a little bit difficult because we've got this very slight, you can see it in the light, there's a very slight stress skin going on there. It's really, really nice. So, and the thing is, it doesn't have it on that panel. So once it's all sanded, I think what I'll do is I'll come in with a radius blade like this, and I'll just lightly scrape the plastic in between the rivet lines, just to kind of continue that sort of shape, that kind of divot we've got going on there. It's bloody beautiful. Look at it. It's really, really nice. It is so subtle you can hardly see it. It's just gorgeous. I remember I mentioned in my review it looked like it. So this is the other way around actually. On the panel I was looking at, it looked like the panel was bulged in between the rivets. So I'm just checking once again. I can feel a bit of an edge there, so I'm just going to push the door out of that top corner. Call it a door, it's not a door, is it? It's a blanking panel. There we are. There we go again. There we are. So leave those to dry now. I'm going to give them another application of glue just to make sure they're absolutely welded in solid. Don't want them moving around at all. Just like so. Job done. In there. There we go. That's lovely. Right. So let's see what's next. We're going to let those dry and we can look at something else. The other thing I like to do when I'm building a model is reduce my sprues. Now straight away I can see we've got this great big step here, and I know we're not going to be using that in the kit. It's not part of the kit, so we can cut this sprue away here. Okay, so we can throw that at the bottom of the box, and then this sprue here, look, we can cut it off there, we can cut it off there, and we can cut it off there. And already we're 10 minutes into the build, a bit more than that, and we've reduced our box down to less one sprue. So that's cool. Always good to get rid of sprues when you can. We can get these discs made up into balls again and put that back away. So as I say, we'll let that dry and then we'll start to work on them later. Okay, so it's been about 12 hours since I've done this, so the glue's all nice and set now and they're all in there nicely. I'm just going to do a final check, just make sure they're all flush or slightly raised, and we're really good. So what we'll do this one on camera and I'll go off and do the other two. So what we've got to do now is protect the rivets. So what I'm going to do is use some pieces of tape, and I'm just going to show you this quickly and then I'll go away and do it properly. But basically you want to get some tape and cover up the rivets. So on this bottom edge here, it's going to be very, very difficult to do because the rivets are literally right on the edge. I have a feeling we are going to have to re-rivet this, which you'll like because you'll get to see me use another tool. But just using some tape there and just covering up those rivets. Okay, I'm not even sure we're going to be able to get glue into that seam, but we shall see. And I've got some bits of tape here that I had. These are bits I had left from masking the chieftain. So getting that up. It's early in the morning. I've only just got up, and my eyes are a bit foggy because I'm old and decrepit. There we go. So just like that, and then another piece down the side here. Just put it on and then get it all lined up, get it positioned just like so. Just cover up those rivets as good as you can. Excuse me for sniffing. I can hear Jess outside barking. I have to go and get her in. There'll be somebody daring to walk past the house. There's another little piece here. And just cover up that line of rivets there. It's just to try and save us having to do re-riveting, because whenever you re-rivet a model, it's very difficult. When you're doing one small area, it's very difficult to replicate the rivets that are on there. It always looks a little bit different. So there we go. So you can see what I've done there. I've just done that. If you want, you can go inside and cover up those rivets there. Just get a bit of tape. How wide is this? So all we'll do is we'll get a bit of tape. We'll put a nice edge on it, and then we'll cut it down. And then we'll cut it down that way, and I should imagine this would be about the right size. There we go, we can put that in there and cover up those rivets, and then get this little piece here and put that in the other side. So you can see it's a bit of a faff, but you'll see in the end it's worth doing. And now all I've got to do is run the super glue into there to fill the gaps, and we'll be away. Right, so I'll get the other ones done and then I'll come back and show you the next step. So the next step, we've got all the tape done, all the rivets are covered. The next step is to fill the holes in. Now, as I say, I'm going to use super glue, and this is the VMS Flexi 5K CA. This is the black thin one. I've got a few of these. The reason I use the black thin the most is because it flows beautifully. Just like when I use Mr. Surfacer with thinners, I can use a cotton bud to remove it as long as you're quick. It doesn't dry instantly, so it's got time to wick and do its thing. And it doesn't crack. It's slightly flexible. So it's a very, very handy glue. So give the bottle a good shake. I'm just going to dispense some here. If this is the first time you've seen my channel, I try and tell you what I'm doing, because I have a lot of followers that have been following me for years, they know exactly what I'm doing, so I just say I'm doing the cracks. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask the questions down below in the comments and I will answer them for you. So what we're going to do now, we're going to work on this one, aren't we? Because this is the easiest one to do on camera, because that one there in particular I've got a lot of very, very technical sanding to do to get in between re-bleeds and detail. So what I'm going to do is go in where the edges are, down here, and I'm going to put glue into here. This thing I'm using is called a glue looper. You can get them on Amazon. And what I'm doing is just put in there and it'll go up to the edge of the tape. That's absolutely fine. If it goes under the tape and fills any rivets in, we'll have to re-rivet. I think we're going to have to do some riveting work anyway, which I think you might enjoy. But we shall see how it comes out. But I just want to show you, for the newer modelers out there, or for those that, you know, have only got a couple of kits under their belt and they're sort of looking at this on there when they get their Sea King and thinking, oh, I don't like that panel, I don't like that big line around there, which is exactly how I feel. So don't think you're being fussy. It's not rivet counting. I've also heard people saying lately about they kind of watch these videos of YouTubers building models. They have a go and can't achieve the same results because they're newer to the hobby, and they give up. I don't think that's true. Surely what you're going to do, I mean, you aspire, don't you? It's like if we didn't have any world record times for running, swimming, or weights for lifting, or whatever, then, you know, what would be the targets of those that are trying to achieve better? So I think if you look at this and you think, oh, I can't do that, then you can, because at the end of the day, you know, if you're an able-bodied person who has upper body control and you have eyesight, then I see no reason why you can't do what I'm doing here. And believe me, I mean, I started when I was 6 years old, and that was 54 years ago. So, you know, like most things, this comes with practice. And it's one of the, you get some people who are just natural. I mean, I've seen people pick the hobby up and they just, you know, they become one of the best figure painters I've ever seen. I can't paint figures to save my life, although I haven't tried for a while, but I really should give it a go, actually. But, so that glue's going in there, and as you can see, it's very thin, and it will flow out and it will flow into those cracks. And we're just going to leave it to dry. I'm not going to put accelerator on it. I'm going to let it flow into those cracks. It's probably flowing into some of the rivets as well, but not to worry. And the other way you can do this, if you have a round blade like this one here, you can dip the blade into the glue, and as you can see, the glue will stick to the edge of the blade, and then you can basically put the blade into the joint and just run the glue along like so. Okay, so that's one way. It's a really good way of, if you had to get glue into a scene here, it's a really good way of getting it in. So as you can see, we can just put the glue into the groove, and it's capillarying around, doing its thing. Just like so. There we go, that's those done. So I'm going to leave those now to dry for 10 minutes. Have a look at them again, see if it's sunk in. I can see there on that one it's sunk in down here. So I'm going to put some more glue in there. Basically what we're looking for is, we don't want to see any lines, we want it to just be like a raised mound. And then what we'll do, we'll leave the tape on there and we'll sand it down and we know that then we're not going to touch any of the plastic surrounding. And when we remove the tape, we will have a thin raised line of super glue, and then I'll take you through the next step. But I'll obviously show you the sanding, and then we'll go from there. But believe me, this is, in my opinion, the best way to fill cracks like this. If you use Mr. Surfacer or filler, it will probably shrink back, and it'll shrink. You leave it for a day or so and it's fine, and you sand it all back, and then you look at it in a week's time and it goes back in, and if you put a solvent primer over it, it will sink back in. So I've discovered this VMS stuff is absolutely awesome for this kind of thing. I've started using it on all my ejector pin marks now. So there we go, and I can see here it's sinking back in there as well. Sinking on the seeking. There we are. And as I always say in my videos, if you think this is slow, boring, laborious, get on with it, whatever, you can always hit fast forward. Because those that like to see every little bit of detail, they can't hit fast reverse, if you know what I mean. So I'll just get a cloth, clean the blade off, and as you can see, this glue does not dry instantly. If you just wipe it off, it's great. It's wonderful stuff. And it's the VMS Flexi 5K CA, and it's available from Premium Hobbies here. If you haven't heard of them, they're based down in Weston-super-Mare. If you do buy anything from them, use the code NMB10, Nigel's Model Bench 10, and you'll get 10% off. If they're out of stock, have a look over at Scale Model Shop, because they also stock VMS products. But I haven't found another glue like this. As I say, it's not instant drying, which sometimes is a bit of a pain, but when it does dry, it's very, very strong and it's flexible. So if you've got silly bits of photo etch on a model ship where it's sort of going on end on, and you've only got the thickness of the brass to glue it to the plastic, it's brilliant. The only trouble is you put it on and you have to hold it there for a while. But you know, you can't have everything, can you? So there we are. I was just looking at that sprue there. It looks like I've got a bit of a raised edge there still, so I'm going to go in and sand that. All on the bottom here, there's quite large sprue nibs on here. But, the reason they're large is because there's such a lot of area to fill, and it's good to have larger sprue gates for us to work with than have small sprue gates and end up with short shots. So there we go. But it's very, very nice, this kit. Right, I'm going to leave that to dry and then we'll come back and sand it down. Okay, so we're back. Still got my dirty mat out because of the gluing and everything. I just use this when we're doing cutting, stuff like that, not when we're gluing and filling and that. So I ended up putting a little bit of accelerator on there just to get it to go, because this glue can take a long time to dry, believe me. You can see here I've got bits of tape covering all the little protrusions around the edge just to protect them, just in case we stray off. So that helps. I've got here, this is a 400 grit Infini, this is called a Matador stick. They're absolutely awesome. And what I'm doing now is just sanding away the raised super glue, but I'm not putting any pressure on, and I'm just going to sand it away until it's flush with the tape. And then any areas, I'll look through a magnifier, and any areas that are sort of subsurface of the tape, I'll go over with the super glue and fill them in, because what we're basically trying to do here is achieve a sort of flange around that joint, which is the thickness of the tape. Okay, so if I just sort of concentrate on this corner here, sort of bore you to tears with you watching me sanding, you can see here now the tape is starting to come through along that bottom edge. So you can see now, once we're through to the tape, above and below the glue, what we've got now is basically a layer of glue, the width of the gap and the height of the tape. So we know that when we take the tape off, we're going to have a ring around that's covering the gap around that panel. And that's what we're trying to achieve. So just go up this back edge here, doing one edge at a time, so because we've got a lump there, we've got a lump there, we've got a lump there. So I've got to avoid them, there's a big lump there, I don't want to go hitting that, so just concentrate in this area here, and then we'll concentrate in that area there. And as I say, when we come to do this one, it's going to be really difficult because we've got lumps everywhere. But we'll get there. And if we do end up sanding away a lump, we'll just make a new one out of plastic card and replace it. So this stick is actually a bit worn, so it's probably more like a 600 rather than a 400. You can see here I'm sanding away. The tape is, believe it or not, the tape is quite resilient to sanding. It's actually more resilient than the glue, to be honest. And as I say, the tape is on those lumps just in case. If I accidentally hit that once, if I didn't have that on there, it would remove some detail. So the tape is there just to protect it. If you want to see this on a massive scale, go and look at my ICM Sky Crane build, which I did back earlier this year. And that's got raised rivets, and you'll see on there what raised rivets, they're a nightmare when you've got to do stuff like this. I mean, can you imagine if there was raised rivets on this model, this would be practically impossible, and you would have to put up with the gap. So thanks, Chris, for not putting raised rivets on there, because I'd rather have a nice smooth fitting panel than have the raised rivets and then have to work with them. They're a nightmare to replace and get them all looking the same. But if you have one of these and you really want to raise rivets on it, you don't want to have the recessed rivets there. All you've got to do is get some rivet decals. You can get the ones from HGW. There's a few different ones now, which I can't remember the names of, but I have seen them used on different forums and stuff. And you can cover the model in rivet decals if you want to, but that again comes with its own problems, because you have, I'm just going to get that tape, see if I can cut that away there, because we've got a double thickness of tape. I'm just wondering if I can, yeah, there we go. Peel that away, and that'll give us a much flatter, flusher surface. There we are. And as you can see there, I've managed to sand all that out. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see, there's a shiny bit in there. Just in front of my finger, there's a shiny bit there. And that means we haven't filled it. So we're going to come along, we're going to put some more super glue in there. Fill that area up. And then let it dry. The rest of it is all come out matte. So now I need to go on and do the others. And then I'll come back and show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, there we go. So, as you can see now, if I hold that up close, it's all sanded flush. We've got matte finish all over it. There's no glossy bits. So we're ready to take the tape off. So we can just come in, remove the tape. Great, that's come off in one. That's good for the camera. Okay, we're going to just take that tape off of there. And then we can remove the tape from the panel in the middle. And what we've got here now is a raised area of glue. Now we can see we've had a little bit of capillary action going on here, but that's okay. We're going to have to replace a couple of those rivets. That's alright, we'll just use a pin for that. As you can see, we've got a raised lip on there. I think what I'm going to do is give this a very light coat of white paint, purely so you can see what I'm doing. It's not for me, it's for you. Because it will help me as well. What we want to achieve here, we want to be able to sand this so that everything is grey plastic, and that's where the white paint will help. It will show you what I'm doing. But basically, if you can imagine, if this corner here was sticking right up, as soon as I start sanding, the white paint will go from that area, but we'll have white paint remaining here, which shows us that that area is still high. So we just keep sanding, nice hard stick. We use this one again, maybe we use the 600, and just keep gently sanding until everything's nice and flush. And this is why I wanted to get that door panel either dead flush or slightly raised, because I'd rather sand away that panel slightly, not like half a millimetre or something. We're talking just a few thousandths of an inch. But we're going to be able to just sand away that panel and have it all flush. So what we should end up with is grey plastic with a very thin line of black glue around it, and we know it won't shrink or anything. So I'm going to get on now and finish these, and then I think I'll get some white paint on this so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so as you can see, white paint on there. Now it really shows up that ridge of raised super glue. This one here, you can see I've sanded around, gone in between all those nubbins and everything. So you can see there the kind of effect we're looking for. Now if you really want to go super accurate, I've noticed on here there is a second row of rivets down the edge there. So I'm going to fill those because they wouldn't be there in reality because there's no window there. So I'll fill those, I'll tape up the rivets around them and I'll just fill each one individually and then sand them. But as you can see, it's good because the primer shows up. You can see I've got a bit of a lump going on down here. But I mean, it would look absolutely fine under paint, but we can still sand it out. But we're not going to worry about that one because that's what I'm using here is an old floory skinny sticker, just going in between all the lumps and bumps and making sure we get into all the corners and everything. But as I say, once you've got the primer on, you can see. You will also get, I'll show you in a minute, you will also get rivets that are blocked with sanding dust, so we clean them out as well. So let's get to it. Okay, so once again, 400 grit sanding stick to start with. I've got a 600 here as well, we can use that one. What I'm going to do, first of all, a bit of tape over there, and a bit of tape over there, because as I say, one swipe with the sanding stick on the bare plastic will take some of the feature away, whereas if I touch up the tape on there, it's going to be fine. So as you can see, this is why I've put the paint on this, so you can see what I'm doing. So the first few strokes, we've basically got the area here in the middle sanded, so we know we need to sort of work on a radius. So if we concentrate on this back edge first, what I'm going to do is sand and just keep sanding until I have grey plastic and a thin black line. And you can see on here this stress skin effect where we're sanding here and it's not touching in between the rivets. That's fine. What we can do is just flatten that and then re-establish it with a curved knife, which I'll show you. Okay, so there you can see we've got the grey plastic here, but we're not up to the edge of the fuselage sides yet. So moving up now, and this is exactly what I was saying about having this panel slightly raised. And as you can see, I'm sanding away the panel and not the fuselage. Concentrate now on this corner over here. And that one was a lot closer to being flush. As you can see, we've got white paint still on the panel. Or is it? No, that's not on the panel, is it? Yes, it is. Let's just keep going around like that. Hopefully you're learning something for this, guys. Hopefully there's some newer modelers out there learning. This applies to pretty much any old kit, it's not just this. You often get these blanking panels that go in, but make sure, check your references. If it's a panel going in, it may be it's supposed to be a panel there, so you want a panel line around it, but here there is no panel there. So basically they built different versions with windows in different places, and then they didn't actually build it with the hole and then plate it over. They just didn't put a hole there in the first place. So there we go. So we can see now that, as I thought, we've lost some of the riveting across the bottom there. That's okay. And you can see that we've got this stress skin effect going on. What we can do is with a curved blade, we can come in and just lightly scrape the plastic in between the rivet lines, just like so. It needs to be very, very subtle, just to re-establish that sort of slightly lower area in between the rivets. Okay, and then we go over that with a sponge. That'll soften it all out, and then we can come along and replace all the rivets. Now we can see where we've got the rivets because we've got sanding dust in them, so that's good. We can see that there's one here that's missing. Okay, so we're going to use this pointed tool and just feel around and then just push. And these I'm going to do under a magnifier because I can't see them, but I'm just going to replace them. Or you could come along with a riveting wheel. This is one of the new ASK riveting wheels, and I want a 0.75 single row, which I've got. And I've already checked these rivets are actually 0.75 spacing. And then what we can do is come along with this wheel and put it into the rivet holes. I'm going to do this very lightly because I can't see what I'm doing because I need a magnifier, but basically we could just roll over there and replace those rivets just like that. I'm going to do it under a magnifier, and what you do is just give it a little bit of pressure and just push. And in fact I might be able to do it under the magnifier so you can see what I'm doing. Let me just see if this will work. So I can see what I'm doing and you can see what I'm doing. Brilliant. So now I can look on here and I can line these teeth up with the existing rivet holes. Just roll forwards and backwards, and then what we can do is just roll over. I think I went off track slightly there. So we'll start again. We may have to do a little repair job, that's not a problem. And then just roll over. And that should be those rivets replaced. And if we go over with the sander, it should fill them with sanding dust. And as you can see, they're not as big as the other ones, so we're going to go over again. Just like that. Sand it again. And there you are, you can see those rivets are completely replaced. And that, I can assure you, is a lot easier than repairing raised rivets. So thank you, Chris, for not giving us raised rivets. So there we are, and that is it, guys. That will be invisible under a coat of primer. It looks like we've also lost some rivet detail down here where the glue's gone in. So I'm going to, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to come in here, pick up the original holes with the tool. Easier said than done. And then just run down slowly, making sure we stay on track. And then again, as you can see at the moment, they're full of super glue. If I sand them, we should get them filling up with... No, we need to go over again. The super glue is obviously pretty hard. So once again, I'm going to get the tool lined up. That's it. And then pushing quite firmly. Just going down over it. And if we do end up with a double line of rivets or whatever, it doesn't really matter. You're not... And it's only going to show if you put a really dark wash on there. And this has got decals and stuff going over it here anyway, so we're not really too bothered. Do a little bit more sanding up there because I can see a little bit of a seam. And as I say, if you're doing this kit, this is the first one you want to practice on, because there's no features like the other one. The other side, you can see we have this overlapping panel. We've got that here on that one. So you've got that to deal with. This one here is a complete nightmare. But do this one first and then see how you get on. But I'm really happy with how it's come out. So I'm going to go over now and get rid of that double row rivets, sand this one out, and then I'll come back and show you how it all looks when it's got a coat of primer on it again. Right, there we go, all done. So you can see that panel there. All done, absolutely smooth. No sign that there was ever an insert paddle in there. I've gone around just with a pin and picked up all the rivets, and as you can see, it looks like there's a variation, but it's like some have got paint in them, some have got dust in them, and some haven't, so that's why you see a bit of a variation. But to be honest, once it's painted and the decals go over there, you won't notice. As long as it's got something there, you really won't notice. This one here has come out really nice. I'm really pleased that that's come out, because that one was a complete bear to sand. You can see greasy fingers there. This is what I'm saying. This is why I didn't wash it first. And then here, you can see that's all done. I've polished it. Basically, go over with like this is a 1500 grit Infini sponge, and you can just polish the area and just make sure there's no little lumps or bumps or ridges or anything, or dry overspray. As you can see, as soon as you start sanding, you start filling those rivets holes in, so they have to be blown out. Just take the airbrush, just go over the surface, and that will blow most of that. If it won't blow them out, put the pressure up, give it a wash, give it a scrub with a nail brush, whatever, I've used MRP primer on here, so it won't be affected by the water. But you can see there, that panel's fitted in there. And now there's no sign of it, so it's much better than having that ridge around there. The other thing I'm going to want to do is when it comes to the interior, I've got the interior walls here actually, they've got the windows cut out in the interior walls as well, you can see. So when we actually put that into the fuselage, like so, you're going to have a hole there, which won't really matter on that one. But when you're looking through this door at the other side, you're going to see that one, so I'm going to fill that one in as well. It would also appear that Airfix have left a lot of detail off on these sidewalls. It looks like they were covered in ribs and stuff, but I'm guessing that to achieve that detail would have been quite difficult. I don't know whether they just put some ribs in there or something. I know we could add some, but this is going to, as I say, this is going to be out of the box. Maybe it's going to have the Edwards seat belts. I don't know. We shall see. It'll probably be out of the box though. So they're all done now. So now we need to look at what we're going to do about drilling. So we, as you know, in the start of the instructions, you go into your instructions. I did show you this in the review, and you start off with all your legend and everything, and then here you have to choose. Now I've chosen option C, so I'm not doing the HAS1, I'm not doing a 5, I'm doing a HU5. I don't know what the HU stands for, but it basically is telling us to drill all holes highlighted in red. So this is for version C, this is A3, this is the floor, this is the top view and the bottom view. So here's the part here. So we'll get our fuselage sections out of the way, and it's telling us to drill them with a 1.1mm drill. Now I have a 1.1mm drill, but you probably don't, so I'm going to use a 1mm and see how it works out. So if we look at the top side here, we can see it's telling us to drill. What we'll do is we'll mark them. That's a lot easier way to see what you're doing. So try and mark them in an area where you're not near any ridges, because if you use marker pen, it will come through all your paint. So from the top side, we've got that one there, we're going to do. We've got that one there, we're going to do. That one there. That one there, and that one there. Okay, so there we go. And then when we turn over, we've got that one, those four there. So that's that one, that one, that one, and that one. Be very careful there, because we've got two, you can see you've got two crossover areas, and then we've got that one, that one, that one, and that one. Right, so we've got that correct. Yeah, so we'll have the instructions in front of us just in case. So I think I'll do these ones underneath first. We've got those two there. So we've got a 1mm drill here. It's picking up in that hole. Lovely. I'm just going to drill through. I tend not to use power tools when I'm drilling. Okay, and look on the other side. We've got a bit of flash pushed up. So sometimes you can go in from the other side and just remove that from that side, and you can see you get a much neater hole. So that's those two done, and then we're going to drill this one, this one, that one there, and again, be careful, that one there. So now we're kind of stuck with version C. There's nowhere else to go now. So just going through from this side just to clean them up. And then finally for the underside, we've got these four here. So there's one there, one there, one there, and one there. This proves to us we've obviously got other versions coming, because you can see here on all of them we're drilling out these four holes on this cross here, and the other cross isn't getting touched at all. Neither is this one or any of these, so we've obviously got more versions because there's more holes back here which aren't touched in any of these either, so we've obviously got more versions on the way, which is great news. And I'm sure that some of you proper experts, I'm sure you can guess exactly what it is that's coming by those holes, because I know there are people that in the UK are very, very passionate about Sea Kings. So I've got a 2mm drill here, and I'm just going over just to remove any raised edges. Not pushing at all, just literally the pressure, the weight of the drill on the plastic. Just enough to take those edges off. There we go. Still got one left on that one there. Just clean that off. There we are, that's that done. Right, and then it's telling us underneath, sorry, from the top, we've got to do this one here. This one here. 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 And here. There we are. And there we go. So that's all our holes drilled. And I'll get some alcohol now. I'll show you actually. Get some ordinary IPA. This is isopropyl alcohol on a cotton bud. Don't use cellulose thinners or anything. We're just going to remove that black marker pen, because as some of you will know, and I've told you a lot before, lots of times before, if you spray lacquer paints or, you know, like Mr. Hobby or Tammy LPs, whatever, over black pen, it will just keep coming through every coat you put on. So try and avoid using black marker pen on your models when you're going to paint them. Underneath it doesn't matter, because we're not going to be painting it, and we're not going to see it. But there we go. So that's our floor done. So next up is our fuselage. So we've got A, B, C and D. I see you've got some holes to fill if you've got to do that one. And the hose they're talking about filling are... Oh, it is in that side. Why are they showing you from the inside? Fill 2 holes. So there's 2 holes you've got to fill. The best way to do that, piece of plastic rod, dip it in super glue, stick it in the hole, let it dry, cut the end off, sand it flat. Okay. I don't need to do that on mine because we're having the winch there. So again, I've got a 1mm drill. So, and I've got a point now. This is the David Union 150. This thing, this pin vise is awesome. Get yourself one; they're amazing. So I'm doing version C, which is this one up here. So we're going to make sure we don't look at that one. So this is that fuselage shaft. So I've got a 0.8mm drill in this little pin vise here, and they're telling us to drill those 4 holes around there. So 0.8 drill. 1, 2, 3. I think Jess is about to start barking because there's another dog barking outside. 4. So that's those 4 holes done. Again, we've got the burrs sticking out on the outside. I'll get rid of them in a minute. And then here we're back to the 1.1. So we've got 2 there. That's definitely 1mm, so that's 2 there. Yeah, just make sure we are correct. 1, 2, and then we've got 2 down here. This is for our lumps and bumps and greeblies, I'm guessing. And then we've got 1 back here. Right. And then on the other side we have, again, 1.1 millimeters. I'm using 1 mil. It's gone through there, and then one there. Always keep the drill perpendicular to the surface, guys. It makes life a lot easier in the future. And we've got these two here again. They're 1 mil. Can't remember what kit it was. It was an Airfix kit. I think it was the Vulcan, wasn't it? I forgot to drill all the bloody holes in it. I completely missed this step. And then when it came to fitting parts, I couldn't fit them. And then again with this 2 mil drill, I'm just going to come on the outside and just literally deburr the edge of those holes, just like so. Very gentle little touch. Jess is let up in the window waiting for the bin men to come. And then we got one there and one there. So that's all those done. And then on the other side, got one there, one there. Get in the hole drill, one there, one there. Was there any more? I'm sure there was more than that on that side. There's those 4.8 ones up there. There's one I missed there, look, I can see. One there. I missed. Just deburr the outside of that one. And there we are. I would deburr that one as well. There we go. And these 0.8s, I'm not sure if I'll be able to use the 2 mil drill to deburr them. Yes, I can. There we are. Job done. So that's all our drilling done, so we can put our drills away, and then I'll come back and see what we're going to do next. Just one bit I forgot to add here. We've got to do the belly as well. I'm leaving this on the sprue because we don't need it for a long time. I did notice something. Piece of advice I'd give you: if you can see this white line here, that's a stress mark, and it's where the part is wanting to pull out of the sprue. So if I were you, what I've done is cut that sprue attachment point, so that when it flexes, when you pick the sprue up and it flexes like this, you can see that, you know, it's moving on there, so it won't actually break that off. So that's a little bit of advice for you from an old man. Version C, HU5, we've got a 1 millimeter hole there, and I've put all my drills away, so I'm going to get my drill out and just drill that one hole there. If we were doing the other versions, there'd be all sorts of filling and all sorts to do, but because it's an HU5, whatever the U stands for, it's just that one hole. So I'll get that one done and then I'll be back. Right, that's done. So looking in the instructions here, we're now going to get on with the cockpit, and I'm going to follow the build sequence. I always say that and never do I? But I'm going to follow the build sequence as much as I can, and then we'll move on from there. Now, I'm looking here, and there's a lot of building going on. It's very, very nice. We got to look at our choices. We're going to have some spare seats left. Brilliant. We could use these seats in other stuff. So I'm going to get all the parts washed. I know a lot of people don't bother. I know Airfix always say it in their instructions, and it's good advice to do it. Now let's have a look at these sprues. Let's see if we got any. That's interesting. That was broken off there. Look. The actual sprue has snapped. You can see it's broken there, and it's broken off the part as well. Sorry about my nails, guys. They're disgusting. It does feel a little bit oily, and you can see on here, there we go. This is what we want to find. You can see around those ejector pin marks. They are called ejector pin marks, guys. I hear a lot of people call them injection pin marks. They're ejector pins. What they do, if you can imagine the female of this, that is sat between two mould halves. Okay, let's get those bits out of the way. This sprue is sat between two mould halves, normally vertical like that. Okay, and what happens is the tool closes, they inject the plastic, and the plastic flows all around, and then when it's cured, the tool opens, and this will stay in this half of the tool. So they've got all these metal pins which come out and they push the part out, and then it will fall into a basket, or a robot will grab it, or whatever, or there'll be a person there waiting to grab it. Sometimes you'll see these ejector pins have like a raised lump on them, and they're called Z-pins. And what they do is, as these pins push out, there's like, oh, you can see, I mean, there's one there, one there, one there, one there, one there, one there, one there. There's hundreds of them. You can see there's one on every one of those seats there. There's 3 there, one there, one there, one there. There's 4 just in those bits. There you go. There's the Z-pins. There. So there will probably be other Z-pins on this side. Dum da dum da dum. You can see them there. Yeah. And what they do, as it comes out, they will sit on there. We've got some there as well. So maybe this is actually moulded vertically and it hangs off of those. But great, I'm glad they're there. You can see there's the Z-pins. You can see they're like a wedge shape. So what it is, as the pins come out, it will actually, the sprue will just hang on there. But I can't see any on this side, which is strange. Yeah, very unusual. Maybe it's moulded that way up. Anyway, there you go. So that's what they are. They're ejector pin marks. They eject the sprue, because obviously it doesn't want to come out at all. You have to push it out. So that's why they're there. A lot of people say, oh, that's why we have to have them. Funnily enough, if you look at Models Vit, little, I'm not sure if they're Ukrainian or what they are, but they don't have ejector pins in their tooling, but they always have very small sprues. They would make this out of about 6 sprues, this lot. But obviously the smaller the sprue, the less contact area there is. But you can imagine they've got to push that out. They've got to push these pins here have got to be pushed out. So yeah. I've also noticed this is beautifully made. So when you put it down, it doesn't damage all the those there are sitting on the ground, but all these pins here are sticking out, so it doesn't damage. You see that if I push down on the sprue, the part is still held in midair. Anyway, enough about that. So I've forgotten what I was talking about now. But yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. These ejector pins, you can see on here, there's oil around there. If I take my cotton bud that I used earlier that's got some IPA on it, it will come away. It's dried out, but that oil will come away. So what we need to do is wash them in a mild detergent wash. In fact, we've got more, so I'm going to take this part off because we've got more sprue tabs broken on there. It could have been me handling the sprue, but I am going to take this off because I fear that if it makes a couple of points, the other 3 points may well snap and they'll pull a chunk out of the plastic, so we'll take them off. So that's gone now. So yeah, I'm going to go and get these parts washed. You can see we've got more oil there around that one. Can't see any more oil on that one. But yeah, the slightest sign of oil, we've got some there as well. Look, slightest sign of oil, it indicates we need to do something. So we will do something. We've also got to fill these windows in here, back here. We'll fill that one in there. I think that was the one that, yeah, so we'll fill that one in there. So we don't have that, we don't want to see that when we look inside, do we? We want to see a nice flat panel. So I'm going to get some washing done. All I will do is get some lukewarm water, well, not lukewarm, a little bit warmer than lukewarm, a bit colder than you would bath a baby in, I guess. I've never bathed a baby, but it doesn't want to be too hot because you'll distort your parts. A little drop of washing up liquid, swirl it around in the sink. I always put the sprues in there, move them up and down, agitate them a bit, and then leave them to soak for a couple of hours, let the water cool down, take them all out, rinse them all off, and then leave them to air dry. And when you drain the water out, it's always good to have a mesh in the drain or do it in a bowl, because if any parts come off the sprue, just pull the plug out, they'll be gone. So and you won't notice until after they've gone. So it's okay with new kits like this where all the parts are solid on the sprues, but when you look at like some of the older AMT kits and that, where the sprue was like this and all the parts were just hanging off, like the old Airfix kits as well. You know, they were just the camera ran out of memory and I didn't notice, so I don't know where it ended up, but basically I know that I'd showed you I was going to go and wash the parts, so there we go. We talked about all the pins and everything. This has been a bit of a slow video, I know, a bit long really. I'll speed some bits up to make it a bit quicker for you, and we'll get the pace going. The pace will be faster, but with these panels I really wanted to show you how I go about it and how I get it done and get the results, which I think you'll agree are very nice indeed. So go and do yours when you get it, because I think it's very much worth it rather than having those lines. So hope you enjoyed that. Any comments, questions down below, feel free. And a little square there, click that and you can subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you'll hear about more videos coming. And I do quite a lot. So I'm going to go and wash these parts now, and I'll see you in part 2. Bye for now, and thanks for watching.